In the year 2384, Earth was no longer the center of human civilization. Humanity had spread across dozens of star systems under the Interstellar Accord, a fragile alliance between humans and over 40 alien species. The Accord was meant to preserve peace, but peace, as history proved, always came with a price. For Elias Wren, a 27-year-old engineer from the colony world New Carthage, that price was his freedom. The marriage treaty, the Krillin Empire, a matriarchal alien civilization of tall, silver-skinned beings with luminous eyes, had long accused humanity of violating their mining rights on the border world of Ustra 9. To prevent war, the Accord Council arranged a union of harmony, a ceremonial marriage between a human and a Krillin noble to symbolize peace between their species. Elias was chosen, not because he wanted to, but because he was expendable. He had no family, no political ties, and a background in xenoengineering that made him compatible. The other half of this political union was Lady Seraphine Varkale, a Krillin of royal blood, and 33 years his senior. When Elias first saw her, he froze. Krillins were unnervingly beautiful, elegant yet alien, their faces sharp like sculptures of light, their hair a shifting metallic cascade. But Seraphine's gaze was cold, filled with silent contempt. To her, this human was a political burden, a pet force into her life. The wedding took place aboard the Krillin flagship, under a dome of liquid starlight. Elias stood beside her, repeating vows he barely understood in a tongue that shimmered like music. When it ended, he was officially Lord Consort of House Varkale. A symbol of peace, nothing more. The isolation. The following months were suffocating. On the Krillin homeworld Velaria, Elias was treated as an oddity, whispered about, ignored, and occasionally mocked. Krillins lived nearly 2 centuries. To them, Elias was a child. Even Seraphine rarely spoke to him. Their quarters were vast and cold, carved from crystal and humming with alien energy, yet Elias had never felt lonelier. He buried himself in work, repairing systems and studying Krillin technology. He discovered that Krillin engineering was biological. Their ships grew like living organisms, guided by genetic command matrices. It was breathtaking and terrifying. One evening, while examining a malfunctioning conduit, Elias noticed something unusual. The ship's biocore was deteriorating. The energy pulses were weakening, as though something deep within was dying. He reported it to Seraphine. She dismissed him coldly. Human technology cannot comprehend the living core. You misinterpret what you see. But Elias persisted, and when the flagship suddenly suffered a catastrophic energy collapse days later, she realized he had been right. For the first time, she looked at him differently, not as a burden, but as someone she might have underestimated. The awakening of trust. Weeks turned into months. Elias and Seraphine began working together to stabilize the ship's biocore. He taught her human logic and redundancy systems. She taught him about Krillin resonance harmonics, a science closer to symphony than mathematics. Their nights were filled with discussions about the stars, history, and the fragility of peace. Elias learned that Seraphine had lost her mate during the first human-Krillin war 30 years prior. The bitterness in her heart was not hatred. It was grief disguised as pride. Gradually, walls began to crumble. She started to admire his creativity. He began to see her not as an alien, but as someone burdened by duty. One night, as a violet storm raged outside their sky palace, Elias asked quietly, "Do you ever wish you could have chosen differently?" Seraphine turned to him, her eyes glowing faintly. Choice is an illusion when you serve an empire. But perhaps, this time, the illusion feels less cruel. It was the first time she smiled. The threat beyond. Just as their fragile bond began to bloom, news arrived that shattered everything. The Velthorn Collective, a rogue faction opposed to the Accord, had launched an assault on Ustra 9, the very world their marriage had been meant to protect. The Krillin Council ordered Seraphine to command her fleet against them. Elias, now part of her house, was forced to accompany her. During the battle, Elias discovered something horrifying. The collective was using Krillin-grown ships infected with a parasitic nanovirus, an altered version of the same genetic matrix he had studied earlier. The infection could spread to any Krillin vessel through resonance links, including their flagship. Elias proposed a desperate solution, a fusion of human and Krillin engineering. If they reconfigured the ship's harmonic field into a disruptive wave, they could purge the infection. But it would require Seraphine to connect a neural link directly to the ship's living core, an act that could kill her. Seraphine didn't hesitate. Peace requires sacrifice. "You taught me that," she said softly. She connected to the core, her body trembling under the surge of energy. Elias guided the process, synchronizing the frequencies. Together, human logic and Krillin instinct merged into something neither species had ever achieved. The wave pulsed across the fleet, burning away the infection. The collective ships imploded, their biohull collapsing into luminous dust. The Krillin armada was saved, but Seraphine collapsed in Elias's arms, her pulse fading. The choice. For hours, Elias refused to leave her side. Krillin medics declared her beyond help, her neural patterns burned out. But Elias, drawing from both sciences, created an untested hybrid interface, a fusion of human AI stabilization and Krillin biomemory encoding. He linked her consciousness to the ship's core itself. Days later, when the flagship stirred again, its lights pulsing gently, a familiar voice echoed through the intercom. "Elias, why are you crying?" She was alive, transformed, not as flesh, but as a living heart of the ship. The legend of the Union. In the years that followed, the tale of Elias Wren and Lady Seraphine became legend. The Union, once mocked as absurd, became a symbol of unity between two civilizations. Elias continued his research, and through his work, humans and Krillins learned to create ships that combine both their technologies, living, thinking vessels capable of empathy and reason. And every time Elias looked at the stars, the ship's soft hum would whisper in his mind, "You are not alone, my beloved." He would smile faintly and reply, "I know." Because love, it seemed, was not limited by age, race, or even the boundaries of flesh and time. It was a one resonance the universe itself could never silence.